Hey everyone, my name is Charlie and today I have the school days book tag. I was tagged by Dane of Dane Reads and this tag was created by What Victoria Read. Apparently, you can pick and choose whatever prompts you like for this, so I'll just go through, probably do what Dane did, which was to choose the subjects that he'd done at GCSE. But if I prefer a different question, I'll go with that. So we'll go with the times of the day question and we'll go through all of them. Firstly, we have First Bell. Tell us about the book that first got you into reading. I mention this because I have absolutely no idea. I talk all the time about how when I was a child, we didn't have the money for books really. But one book that I can remember owning that wasn't necessarily my book, it was just a book that we lost from the library, so my mum had to pay for it, was something called A Puppy's Holiday. It was a picture book and I think it's probably still in this house somewhere. I think my brother probably has it. All I do know is that we were at the library every Saturday. We used to leave the flat in the morning, walk into town, we'd have breakfast at McDonald's and then we'd go to the library, we'd pick out books, and if we were, if we got a bit of money for a treat, we might even be allowed to take a video out, although that was incredibly rare. And Lord, remembering that actually happened about 27, no, it can't be 27 years ago. How many years will that have been the last time we did that? The last time we did that was probably 1999, before we came to live in this house. So 22 years ago nearly we last did that. Break time. Which book have you most recently had to take a break from, or DNF? I'm just going to call it now and say Sylvia's Lovers, because I last picked this up in December and it had been 2 months and I read 10 pages. I'm at the page 241 mark. I've been reading this for nearly 5 months and I just really have no want within me to pick it up, which is a shame because at times I really do enjoy this, but others I find it a slog. And so I think that I just need more of a breather from this one before going back. Lunchtime. Tell us about your favourite book that features food. Peaches for Monsieur le Curé by Joanne Harris. This is the third book featuring Vianne Rocher and sees the protagonist return to Lansquenet one summer. This book always sticks in my mind because I wrote an exceptionally long review of this book and shared it with Joanne Harris, who, when The Guardian or something put out one of their reviews, she shared it and said this is how an actual reviewer reviews books, and shared my review. It's from a time in my life I'd had to have a tooth removed so that they could fit braces, and I was unable to eat much and and because of this book I kept having a hankering for peaches, so kept poaching peaches and having them with yogurt because I couldn't eat anything solid for about a month after having this tooth removed. And I read this book whilst I did that, and it was a very evocative thing. And I think Joanne Harris's books from her food trilogy or from the Vianne Rocher books, they just talk about food in such an exquisite manner, which you then see in her cookery books, and yeah, this one. And then we have Final Bow. Which book have you most recently finished reading? Gilead by Marilyn Robinson. Thoroughly enjoyed this book, had me mulling over life and religion and everything, and I have reviewed it more thoroughly in my wrap-up. Homework. What was the last non-fiction book that you read and enjoyed? Probably Legendary Children by Tom Fitzgerald and Lorenzo Marquez, that discusses drag, tells you about the history of drag and drag culture, has a lot of links in the back to go and watch and find and educate yourself more on queer history. It is fantastic, sublime. Yes, there are some errors about seasons of Drag Race that I might forgive one day. Staff Room. Tell us about a book that you go to when you need to take a breath. Furiously Happy by Jenny Lawson. This is a book that I talk about often, that when I was going through the period of unfathomable sadness at the start of 2016, I read this. I read it again 2 months later, and whenever I felt bad, I would pick this book up and read it because it talks about anxiety and depression and mental health in a way that will still have you laughing, and it just feels like you're being understood and that there are more people going through similar things. Then we have subjects. So what I'll do is similar to what Dane did, which is to go through the core things that we had to take for GCSE and then the surrounding classes I took as well. So we will start with English. Tell us about one book you studied at school and recommend one book that you would like to add to the curriculum. So one book that I remember studying at school more than any is and I remember this because of a story I've told time and time again about how we got told we would be reading this book over the summer between years 10 and 11, our 2 GCSE years, and so I bought the book and read it over summer, believing that we were going to start studying it in the September. We didn't talk about it from September till October half term. We got told we would have to read, we needed to have read the book, so I read it again in October half term. Then we started reading it together as a class, and people in that class read it so slowly that I would read ahead during the class whilst they were reading, and then it came to me to read when we were reading aloud with each other, and I had to ask where we were because I hadn't been listening to all of them because they read so slowly. I read it again before the exam. My book basically fell apart over that year, and so I probably never will read that book again. Although my favourite part was when a student asked the teacher, do the red bricks signify danger? And the teacher just responded straight away, no, I think it just means that the buildings were red bricks. Fantastic response. And then one book that I would add to the curriculum, Legendary Children. Every child should be taught about queer history. And I'm not saying like this is definitive. Maths, how do you rate your books? I either like them or I dislike them. My issue is that I'm always seeing the good and the bad points within them, and I like to try and bring that across in my reviews. Science, which book couple do you think has the best chemistry? Well, I failed chemistry. Safi and Iseult in the Truth Witch series by Susan Dennard. Okay, so then, like, if we're going to do the subjects that I actually did at school, this is good. So I did history at school, so the first part of this question is, which 3 historical fiction novels have you most enjoyed? I can't be bothered getting it off the shelf because it's up there, but it's Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell, Here Comes the Sun by Nicole Dennis Benn, and The Eighth Life by Nino Harachvili, translated by Ruth Martin and Charlotte Collins. Some of my favourite historical fiction right there. Next part of the question, if you don't read historical fiction, which areas of history would you like to learn more about? And for me, that's the Victorians and the Tudors. And if we're going to go really back far in time, let's go to the biblical time so I can see how history relates to the Bible. Then I also did drama. So which book do you think has the best ending? Ooh. Oh. Ooh. I was thinking Cress by Marissa Meyer because I really do believe that that is the best third book in a series and the best end to a third book in a series. So yeah, we'll go with that one. I've been recording for nearly an hour and a half now. I want to go downstairs and have a cup of tea. So I'm going to leave the questions there. I'm going to leave a link to the original tag video, so if you want to go and do it, you can find some prompts and do it yourself. I'm not going to tag anyone because, actually, I'm going to tag one person. I'm going to tag Emily of Noval Novels because she's been throwing tags my way all week. I'm not going to ask her either because I'm not as kind as she was to me. And now I'm going to disappear. I hope that you got something out of this video. I don't really mind whether you were bored or not. And until next time, which could be weeks or months or years, I'm not counting, that is all.